Everyone wants to get that extra crisp, sexy slow motion. But how can we get that effect? In this video, we're going to see how to set our exposure and, the thing I love most about this world, light our shots. And before we start, if you haven't done it yet, for the love of light, subscribe and hit that bell button. Now, lighting time! Tons of cameras today shoot different ranges of slow motion, whether it's 50 frames per second or 240 frames per second, whichever frame rate you decide that you want to film on, it all gets treated in the same manner. The only difference is that the higher your frame rate is, the more flickering you're going to get in your shot. This is due to the fact that we're stretching out a 2 or 3 second shot into a 10 or 30 seconds one. Now, simple steps. If you want crisp slow motion, you have to minimize motion blur. Minimizing motion blur makes your subject as sharp as possible whenever it's moving inside the frame. To get that effect, you have to crank up that shutter speed. If you don't do that, you'll get motion blur, which is cool if that's the type of slow motion that you want. But if you want the crisp, sharp slow motion that you could see like extreme details in, you have to crank up that shutter speed. Now when you reach that faster shutter speed, you encounter your first problem, and that is less and less light is going into your camera. And that's the main reason why we need to light slow motion footage. Like a cinematographer. The easiest thing you could do is just blast your subject with light that is enough to expose them well in your shot. But that just doesn't work if your slow motion shot is included in a sequence in a film, let's say. Because with this really harsh, intense lighting that you're using, your shot is bound to be very different from the other shots before it and after it in the sequence. So what you want to do is you want to keep the style of lighting very similar to the other shots you have in the sequence, just at a higher intensity, enough to light the shot and expose it well. And of course, the quality of the light will change a little bit when you're at a higher intensity. So you just have to do some minor adjustments to match the shots. And if it's just one slow motion shot that you have that you're using on its own without any sequence or not in a film or something, well, you can light it in any way that you want, just as long as it's not flickering and it has enough light. The second problem that you'd get when shooting slow motion is the big F word: flickering. Flickering is a slight and subtle change in the light's luminosity that is found in all light sources. And you have to understand that the faster your shutter speed is, the easier it is for your camera to record and see that flicker. And you can easily see that when you pump up that frame rate, where consumer LEDs and incandescent lights start flickering like crazy. But of course, it's super okay because you can fix it in post. Said no one ever. Just fix it while you're shooting. You could use professional lights that are made specifically not to flicker when shooting slow motion. It's that simple. They are expensive, but hey, that's why they're professional lights. And also, if that flickering just doesn't annoy you, or it's very minimal, or sometimes it's just in something that you can't change, then just forget about it. And truly, when it comes to post-production and editing, there is a little bit of a possibility of you being able to fix that. Of course, if it's not like crazy flickering. Now, if you're filming outdoors and you're relying on the power of the sun does not flicker to our eye. I mean, it flickers in reality, but we can't even see that flicker, even if we record on camera. So what you'll be able to do is you'll have a no flicker natural lighting. Now the thing about natural lighting is that you have to shape it. And in order for you to do that, you have to reflect it and you have to diffuse it and just change the way the lighting coming from the sun looks on your subject. And one of the best and cheap tools for that is a pop-up reflector. So check this video out to learn all about it. Now until next time, Cine Stuff out.